10 years after returning home to Bowie, Arizona, war veteran John Rambo tries to lead a calm and meaningful life. Training horses on his late father's ranch, but he cannot completely protect himself from human deaths and a difficult past even in his homeland. Thus Rambo still experiences a sense of guilt for the death of his military comrades, which intensifies after he fails to save 2 people during his voluntary participation in a search and rescue operation for people faced with a flash flood in the midst of a night storm. Moreover, the events he experienced in his life continue to haunt Rambo in the form of memories caused by post-traumatic stress disorder that has developed since wartime, due to which he is forced to regularly take medication. The only source of peace and motivation for life for Rambo is the foster family living with him, his close friend Maria, who looked after the ranch even before the death of Rambo's father, as well as her granddaughter Gabriela, whom Rambo has been taking care of since childhood instead of the girl's own father, who abandoned her with deceased mother. One day, Gabriela unexpectedly informs Rambo that, with the help of her friend Giselle, she managed to find out the whereabouts of her father Manuel in Mexico. And now, without losing hopes of reconciliation, she intends to see him to find out what made him leave her with her mother. Rambo and Maria do not share Gabriela's intentions and forbid her to go to her father, saying that, having committed such a betrayal, in their opinion, he will no longer be able to change. Against their wishes, Gabriela secretly travels to Mexico by car and upon arriving in the country stays with Giselle, who in turn takes her to her father's apartment. To Gabriela's deep disappointment, her father reacts extremely rudely to her appearance and admits that he never loved her and her mother. Seeing Gabriela's condition, Giselle takes her to a local nightclub to unwind. There, Gabriela, not noticing that her drink had been spiked with drugs, becomes the victim of a kidnapping from a criminal cartel involved in sexual slavery and human trafficking. Upon learning of Gabriela's disappearance in Mexico, Rambo immediately travels there and interrogates both Gabriela's father and Giselle. She is forced to take Rambo to the very club from which Gabriela was kidnapped, and points to El Flaco, the man who last spoke to Gabriela. After extracting information from El Flaco about Gabriela's whereabouts, Rambo goes after her, but along the way he is ambushed by cartel men who brutally beat him. Finally, the leaders of the cartel, brothers Hugo and Victor Martins, leave a kind of mark on Rambo's cheek with a knife, after which they take away his driver's license. Finding out the address of the ranch, as well as a photograph of Gabriela promising Rambo to treat the girl just as cruelly in retaliation for his actions, Rambo, beaten half to death, is found by a certain Carmen Delgado, who has been secretly following him, and takes him to her home. There she cares for Rambo until his full recovery and introduces herself as an independent journalist who is investigating the Martins brothers, who kidnapped and killed her sister. Having recovered from the beating, Rambo raids the brothel where Gabriela is being held, and having dealt with the guards, finds the girl herself raped and drugged. Carrying Gabriela into the car, Rambo takes her back home to the ranch, thanking her along the way for giving him meaning in life over the years. However, Gabriela dies right inside the car, never reaching home. Rambo decides to plan revenge. After Gabriela's funeral, he sends Maria to her sister, and he equips the ranch and the dugout dungeon with traps for the upcoming battle. He then returns to Mexico, and having learned Victor's whereabouts from Carmen, attacks his house, where he kills the guards, and then beheads Victor himself and pins a photograph of Gabriela to his corpse, thereby leaving a message for his brother Hugo. Having discovered his brother's corpse, Hugo gathers a squad of armed mercenaries and goes with him straight to Rambo's ranch, where each of the squad members, underestimating Rambo's fighting skills, becomes a victim of his improvised traps. After brutal reprisals against the mercenaries, Rambo goes after the remaining Hugo. First, he blows up a mine dungeon, from which Hugo manages to get out, and then hiding shoots him with arrows from a bow, finally tearing his heart out of his chest. Exhausted and wounded, Rambo returns to the porch of the house, and sits in his late father's chair, promising to continue fighting and cherish the memories of his loved ones. In the post-credits scene, Rambo leaves the house, saddles up his horse, and rides into the sunset.